Greetings, my name is SC King, and I just got out of A House with a Clock in the Walls, directed by Eli Roth, starring Jack Black, Cate Blanchett, and Owen Vaccaro. What a bizarre turn of events. I'm always talking about how I wish directors would get more out of their comfort zones. And Eli Roth himself generally, no, he's only directed adult films. He's the man behind Hostel and Hostel 2, The Green Inferno. These are all very gory, hyper-violent, shock films. But, I got my wish because Eli Roth has only directed these very adult, very violent, very gory films. And here we have this family film, which, oh man, if there's such a thing as like a hard PG film, this would be it. Not in that it gets very, violent or gory per se, but just in the themes that it touches on, especially later on in the film when it gets into the darker parts of witchcraft and and all that implies. Just I was like, wow, this movie is really going for it. Something that I don't think a lot of current films do. I am all for it. I believe that too many family films try to play it safe and don't really go for it when touching these things. This movie is about a young boy named Lewis, a little oddball. His parents die, and he goes to live with his Uncle Jonathan. His Uncle Jonathan is a warlock, and Uncle Jonathan's next door neighbor, Florence, played by Cate Blanchett, is a witch. So basically, three things happen in this movie. There is the plot that involves Lewis learning magic from Jonathan and Florence. There is a plot concerning Lewis trying to get along in school, dealing with being the weirdo and the outcast. And then there is the plot that concerns the man who hid the clock in the wall. So Kyle MacLachlan plays this character called Isaac Izzard, who is a warlock who died a year prior. And before he died, he had a big spell, but he put a clock in the walls. And the big mystery in the film is, where is the clock and what does it do? What is it counting down to? And all three of these plots don't have the same amount of oomph. And where I ended up really enjoying this movie, I can say that it feels that sometimes it meanders a bit because there's this big mystery. Then all of a sudden the movie kind of stops for Lewis to learn magic. And then there's the plot with him trying to get along in school. So the movie really has parts where it slows down and parts where they really get to the meat of the story, which is the good stuff that involves magic, that involves witchcraft and the occult and all of that. There were times when I was thinking to myself, wow, I guess this movie isn't going to be as dark as I thought. Which changed because the first act is where the mystery kind of blooms. What's going on with Jonathan and Florence, and what is the mystery? What's the clock inside the walls? The second act is majority Lewis learning magic, which is all pretty lighthearted stuff. There's hints of things that go bump in the night and weird things that kind of float around the first and second act. But in the third act, where everything starts to go down, it does in fact go to some very dark places. It reminded me a bit of Paranorman in the way that I loved Paranorman and how it was not afraid to get weird or dark or scary just because it was a children's movie. The fact that I believe, children can handle these deeper, darker themes when it comes to fantasy films, that we don't have to stay at this base level. And in this third act, this movie goes to some of the imagery, the things that they were doing in regards to summoning, and all of that noise. It was really cool. This movie is fun. This movie is charming. It has some really cool spectacle, some impressively dark moments, and characters that you really kind of grow to love by the end, especially the trio of Lewis, Jonathan, and Florence. They're really likable, and I wouldn't mind seeing another adventure with these characters. Again, Kyle MacLachlan is not present through most of the movie, but when he does show up, he is actually really good. They give him some, he makes for a creepy villain. And cheers to Renee Elise Goldsberry, who plays his wife, Ms. Izzard. And even though the majority of her screen time is just spent like smiling in like sick delight, because she does have lines, she does all of that very well. And they make a good pair together as foils for the heroes. This has a much harder edge than Goosebumps, which was Jack Black's Halloween outing last year. I like this a lot more. And Goosebumps was fun, but I liked how this wasn't afraid to get dark. I wish the weird levels had been weirding throughout the entire movie, because there's a point where it kind of dips down and it becomes this kind of lighthearted more of a family film, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Movies cost money, and this is definitely a family film I think families should go see. Be warned, the magic, the occult levels, the visuals, the things that are happening on screen go to PG-13 levels. It's nothing I think kids couldn't handle, and I think family films are better for this movie. So yeah, get your kids together. I dug this one a lot, and I hope you check it out.